What up, everybody? Conference tournament week here with Nick once again. Starting with the ACC, we're going to be going through all these tournament brackets, initial impressions, any matchups that we're eyeing, and then looking at the futures market odds and seeing a sleeper team that we got our eye on, a dark horse, a bust, a team that we don't think there's any value on the number, and then our championship picks. So I'll toss it over to you, Nick. Any first reactions with this bracket, and what are you thinking for, those three categories?
Just looking at the bracket now, I do think UNC is the best team in the ACC. They just crushed Duke the other night, and they controlled the whole game, really. I don't think anyone can really argue. It's Tier 1 UNC and then Tier 2 Duke, and then everyone else kind of. Seeing UNC's path and at plus 150, makes sense. Not a whole lot of value in that number, really, but I do see them getting to the title game. I don't really think they slip up. Game 1 versus Tech or Florida State. Florida, Wake Forest, both really shaky teams. Both have high upside. They have a high ceiling. So maybe they can beat UNC, but that's really tough. I don't know if I'd be putting my money on it. Although that is a big bubble game. Like if you beat UNC, you're probably in the tournament for either of those teams. So that's huge. On the bottom side of the bracket, I like the 6 seed Clemson. I think they have some value, honestly. They're the third favorite to win at the plus 850, plus 950 on FanDuel. That's pretty good odds. I think they beat Virginia. I'm not real high on Virginia. I wouldn't be throwing out, any real money on Virginia to win this tournament. Just the way how bad their offense looks. Duke, I like Duke. I'm kind of high on Duke. I think they can win a few games in March Madness, actually. But I still have some real questions with them. Clemson's good. Like, we know Clemson's good. Like, they just lost to Wake Forest, but, it's hard to win at Wake. They only lost one game all season there, fortunately. But, yeah, I think we can see, likely Clemson versus UNC in the final. It wouldn't surprise me if this is chalk, honestly. It's Duke UNC. I really do think that those are the top two teams with some margin in this tournament. But, yeah, dark horse, Clemson plus 850 is pretty good value. Also, how rare is it that Virginia, the 3 seeds, plus 1,900 to win this tournament? Man, that is crazy. With 3 teams in front of them and they're the 3 seed, that just really, tells you where they're at as a program right now. Deep sleeper, and I don't think I'd put any money on this. It's crazy, and we kind of talked about this, and you've been, you were high on Miami all year. They have the talent, they have the guys. Pack was out last game. I assume they're all going to be healthy for the tournament. I don't think anyone's going to be on vacation early. Larry Nega said he's coming back next year, this and that. At 150 to 1, I mean, what's like $25 going to hurt you, throwing on that? You never know. I probably want to throw more than that. I bet more than that. but hey, you never know. They have the talent.
So when I look at this bracket, I think that bottom zone with the Boston College Miami matchup, winner playing Clemson, winner playing Virginia, I think that's a really interesting pod because I think something could happen. I really think there's a lot of outcomes. I agree Clemson's the third best team in the league and that they're good. Like, there's a reason why their odds are, Wake has better odds on FanDuel, but I agree with DK that Clemson's number 3, but Boston College and Miami are the 2 teams, playing in round 1 that I think have the power to pull off an upset and to win 2 games or to win 3 games. I think, look, any team I'm playing on day 1 is not winning this tournament. It's just not, you see the odds. That's the same odds that you're seeing for these teams to win the tournament as Providence to win the NCAA tournament. It's just not happening. But a Cinderella run in the ACC tournament, we've seen it. We saw it with Virginia Tech as day 2 team.
Georgetown too.
Yeah, Georgetown. I mean, Big East is a smaller league at least, but Boston 2 years ago in the year Virginia Tech won it all, Boston College was the 12 seed and they went on a mini little Cinderella run because they beat Wake and then they sent Miami to overtime. Boston College almost made the semis as a day 1 team. So that's what I look at Miami and Boston College. if I had to pick a team from round one who could like sneak into the semis, Miami and Boston College would be the teams that I think could do it. But I agree with you. I think Clemson could take down Virginia. And I also agree with you that Carolina is better than Duke. But if Carolina and Duke meet a third time in the ship, it's hard to think Carolina is going to own them again. Like, especially like Cormac Ryan went nuts. And like in that first game, like Carolina was feeding off that crowd, running in transition. Duke played well offensively in that game at Carolina, in my opinion. Like some people didn't agree with that, but they scored 84, and I thought they were getting good looks. But I would lean Duke as the play. If I had to pick one as my championship pick, and one of them is because I think they have an easier path, right? Like they're going to smoke Syracuse, and if Syracuse loses to NC State, they're going to smoke NC State. And then I think Clemson's their only tough matchup there. Duke will rinse Virginia on a neutral court, absolutely. And if they play Clemson, that's a tough matchup. But then it's like you have two tough games to win. Carolina, like Virginia Tech and Florida. I mean, I think Carolina would own Virginia Tech. I think Florida State. I like weirdly just like because Florida State is such a funky team. Like that's like the random type drunk team that like in a Power 5 league, like that's not making your tournament that could like beat the one. I think it's more likely that Carolina would get upset before the championship than Duke, I guess is my greater point here. Looking at Wake do I think Wake can make it? Like, I don't know. I think they're going to beat Pitt, but I don't know if they can beat Carolina. I do think they're going to beat Pitt though. And then Clemson's the other team. I think I agree that Clemson's the best value. Absolutely. Like, to go on the run. They've competed well with the best teams in the league all year. And you beat Virginia, you beat Duke, and then you get a crack at a Carolina team that you won and beat in their building. And I understand that there's some revenge aspects to that, but what PJ Hall was doing popping like was a real problem for them. And just Clemson's a veteran team. They're old, and like I don't super trust Brad Burnell, but like we've been talking about this like a lot lately, right? It's like PJ Hall's a dude, and he's a dude that can carry at the end of the day. And arguably he's the best big man in the league. So we'll see what happens. But I guess I agree with Clemson as a sleeper. Duke will be my champ pick, and my bust. It's hard to say Virginia's a bust because of no one thinks they're going to do good, and the odds makers don't either. But I guess I'll throw them out there as my bust. And another thing, just staring at these odds. Last thing, real quick, staring at these odds is a reminder that you got to look around before you place a future, because if you want to take a long shot on Syracuse, you're getting 65-1 versus 50-1. If you want to take a long shot on, Virginia, I'll throw them as a long shot. It's 19-1 versus 13-1. So definitely look around if you're going to place one of these.
For sure, shop around. As you were talking, like I had just noticed that FanDuel actually had Duke as the favorite over UNC. I didn't even notice at the start. Like, I think that's solely based on their path, which is pretty crazy. Like as a 2 seed, they got a better path than the 1 seed UNC. Like you said, Florida State is chaos. They could theoretically go crazy. I mean they almost won. They could have won at home versus UNC. The game was closer than it indicated in the game. So I do agree there. My issue is, I probably would take Virginia Tech round 1 versus my, more experienced, better coach. I probably would go with them. It'd probably be a short line. So are there any matchups, opening around, like any numbers you want to attack, any matchups like that?
I'll probably be betting Notre Dame. If Notre Dame's laying a possession-ish or less, I definitely would like to take Notre Dame.
That's a good one.
And I think NC State could beat Louisville by 20. I wonder what that line would be, maybe 10.5. But
yeah,
Miami Boston College is funky for me because I like both those teams. If Nigel Pack's not playing, I'm going to have a hard time having any type of idea even for I would consider Miami this a success if they go and win 2 games, right? Considering what they've gone through this year. But without Nigel Pack, I don't even know if they beat Boston College. Boston College beat them twice, and they beat them in 2 different ways. They beat them 67-57 in Coral Gables.
Yeah, so what I like to do in tournament play like this is, teams with talent who have been underperforming all year. Like I'll throw this one out in the Sun Belt. Southern Miss with Curbelo, they had other dudes like they had a ton of talent, underperformed all year kind of, but they had the talent. Like they could go out in the tournament, they turned it on, they could win games, but they lost round one. And my thing is
like 18. They got smoked.
Yeah, they got smoked, and that's my thing is like, and we've seen Miami like they've kind of folded this year, but this is tournament time, so maybe they show up and turn up, but you kind of got to see it first to believe it. It's one of those things where it's like, I have this hunch, and there might be more value round one, and I just got to see it though to believe it. I don't want to bet Miami game one when they're checked out, and it's just wasting money. Like I got to see it first. I do like that you said Notre Dame round one. I like that matchup. I actually hope Notre Dame wins. Wake Forest is getting, either of those teams in a revenge spot. They just lost Georgia Tech and they lost over to Notre Dame. I think they were laying like 6.5, 7 at Notre Dame. That was a weird spot after the Duke game, I believe. So the books factor that in. So I'll say that, the line probably should have been 8. Take 3 points away from neutral is probably like 5, 5.5 here. Maybe 6. They really like it. The market really likes it. I probably would have looked to attack Wake Forest in their first game versus Notre Dame. I hope it's Notre Dame. Other than that, matchup-wise, we kind of just have to wait and see. There's nothing else round one I really love, besides maybe Virginia Tech if it's a good number.
All right, I know this is kind of contradictory. I agree also about Wake. I think Wake could run either of those teams out the floor and win by 20. We haven't seen them play on a neutral, obviously, since the beginning of the year, and Efton Reed was never there when they put on a neutral, and the road struggles they had, like, where they're all in these games and blowing the leads, like, I don't think that's an apples. Like, you're playing in D.C. now against, a Georgia Tech or Notre Dame team. Like, it's a different type of feel on a neutral court. And I understand the moment's big because you're still playing for your tournament life, but I feel like that the collapse stuff that we saw from Wake all the time, like, I don't really think that's going to happen. And then, okay, this is contradictory because I said Clemson as my sleeper, but I'm not saying bet them to win. They're not going to win this tournament, but I'm coming back to the Boston College thing. And I think Boston College could sneaky make the semifinals. That's like my bold prediction. And in another piece of that, because if you don't get Nigel Pack Miami, a team you beat twice, you win that game. Here's my interesting Boston College Clemson thing. Boston College played Clemson this year, lost 89-78 in Clemson, and didn't have like 3 guys, including Quentin Post, because the team got like sick or something. And last Boston College beat Clemson 62-54 in Chestnut Hill, and Post played really good defense on Hall. So he's like the type of star that can elevate. Like Boston College has some guys who can knock down shots, like, and Earl Grant has shown in the past, like getting his guys up for the ACC tournament. And then if you find a way to upset Clemson, right? If you beat a Miami team that's kind of just over it, you find a way to upset Clemson, a team that had a free pass at you earlier in the year, then you're Virginia away from the semifinals, and like crazier things have happened. That's my bold prediction is Boston College could make the semifinals. Although I still think Clemson's a good bet.
No doubt. I mean, you got to look for like best player plus matchups, and I would say Post for sure, Miami, Post offensively as well, and Clemson and Post for sure versus Jordan Minor, Virginia. So, until they play Duke, he's got plus matchups in all those matchups.
Are we sleeping on Pitt by not talking about Pitt as a team that could actually win this tournament? They got a double bye, like over Clemson and Wake.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I want to say Pitt is good. This is the perfect type of team where, if Henson catches fire, Carrington and those dudes get going, like they can make noise. I don't love Capel as a coach overall. I think Forbes is better than him.
He's done a hell of a job the last 2 years, though.
He has. Again, it's one game. Anything can happen. Neutral court. They have the star power. Henson and Carrington can get going. I'll say that. I just personally, I'm out on Pittsburgh. I don't want them to make the tournament. If they make the tournament, I won't be betting their game. That's just where I am on Pitt.
I was at the ACC tournament in 2022 in Brooklyn, and watching Virginia Tech go on that run, there was something magical about it. But what's so important about that run is just like, do you have different guys, like as you're saying, like different guys that can get hot and the reason Virginia's odds are so low, other than that they're just bad, is like their style doesn't really suit getting hot in the tournament, unless you of course have Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy and DeAndre Hunter and like have like a bunch of dudes, but like
which they don't have.
That plays with pace and can get hot and then And like in this tournament setting, right? If you're a team that's hot and you're balling on offense and you're in flow and you got 3-point shooting, what does that do? That really fires you up to dial in on the defensive end. And it's like, it's March now. And like teams that maybe don't grade well defensively on KenPom and stuff, like doesn't mean they can't elevate their game defensively. And it's like, oh, Pitt, you're playing Carolina. Like, can you elevate and play good defense? Like a team like Miami, who always graded bad defensively on KenPom, like situationally, like in March, like you see teams that some teams can just change how they play defense. It feels like in a tournament setting because you're just feeding off of your offense.
Yep. I agree completely. I mean, Pitt has the upside. They have a high ceiling. They have a low floor as well. It's do you think it favors Wake or Pitt that Wake gets a game first on court, and then Pitt's legs rested though? What do you think that helps?
I think it favors Wake because their weaknesses here.
Wake's not deep. That's the one issue for tournament style basketball is Wake is not deep.
That's true.
If you're in a grinder game one, it's tough.
And that's why the Damari stuff sucks because it looked like we were going to have a guy coming off the bench who could actually give you a double-digit output. Like, as good as Fredrickson is, like, as the only dude that can score a basketball.
And he's a freshman.
But I just think getting their feet under them, playing away from home to beat a team that just beat them, I think they'll come in confident for sure. Yeah. And they have the confidence that they beat Pitt by 30 last time they played, and they were up 10 in their building. So.
Yeah, I know you have a strong Wake audience, and I like Wake too as well this year. So I know a bit more about them. I do know that when they played in the Charleston Classic this year in neutral, they did lose 2 games to non-tournament teams in LSU and Utah. The only one they had on neutral.
Utah's not dead yet. Utah's not dead yet.
Utah's not. I mean, I don't know. They're about as dead as it gets unless they win the Pac-12 or something crazy happens. But
Wake didn't lose to Towson.
They beat Towson. No, I'm saying is their only win on neutral was Towson. Sure. So that is a bit concerning because given their road woes.
It was a different team though without Efton. Like Marshall's playing like 30 minutes, dude. It's not.
I agree 100% with that. It is a completely different team, but even with Reed, they still struggle on the road. It's just scary. Like, that's in the back of my head. It's like this team away from home is a completely different team. You have to cap them differently.
Let's say this: if Wake didn't collapse down the stretch, right? If Wake didn't collapse down the stretch and lose those 3 games in a row, and they're coming in here super confident, they would have been a very popular sleeper, as a 4 seed to like get hot and win this thing. And I just think the depth issue combined with like cooling off a bit, it's like they could win 2 games, but like to then go beat Carolina would be crazy and would make you feel good about your tournament chances. Then to win, I just don't know if they can capture that much magic. Like I haven't seen it enough with the group that they can do it for a 4 games in 4 days stretch.
Yeah. Plus like unless you're betting Wake, I'd rather bet Wake, game by game. If you want to bet Wake, honestly, I don't think 9-1, especially 7 plus 750. Like I don't see any value in that. You gotta win 1, 2. You gotta win 3 games to get to the championship, and you gotta play Pitt.
What's the line of Wake against Carolina? What was that sign line? Carolina minus 6.5. Like you're getting plus 270 money line probably, right, for them to beat Carolina. So like if you're rolling over, that's better than taking the future.
Yeah, So UNC, I remember this. I bet this game. UNC was laying 7.5 in Chapel Hill against Wake. That was like a month ago, I believe. So on neutral, I mean, they probably make it like UNC. Analytics really like Wake. The market likes Wake too. So I mean, UNC probably be like a 4.5, 5-point favorite.
That feels a little small.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Money would rain in on UNC. It's just. I mean, it's how they've been priced. I mean, KenPom has them high. Market likes them. And they were laying like 3.5 for 4 versus Clemson. It's just. I just don't see value on Wake. Like, even if I think they can get hot, which they can't. But
all right, last thing: if Duke plays Clemson in the semis, what's the line?
If Duke plays Clemson,
yeah.
I don't know, like
Duke
3 or 4 point favorite, probably. 4, probably. Yeah, 4. I mean,
Clemson should have beat Duke and Cameron. And they
yes, that was a good game. That was a
match up with Filipowski.
They got screwed in that game because of the late foul. I remember that. They should have beat them. Wow, I forgot all about that. Yeah, Clemson has a lot of. That's like a big game for Clemson, man. Like
Clemson's boom or bust. Dude. For me, they're the team that I think can win this and lose in the first round.
And I don't know how like inserted into the lineup Jack Clark was then.
I don't think he was.
He's a big X factor. Yeah, I don't know if he was like playing or barely played that game. That's another like.
No, I think that might have been like his first game back or something. He played 17 minutes off the bench. That was his third game back. He hadn't started yet, but ever since he came back in the lineup, actually before last week losing he didn't play at Notre Dame. The point is there was a stretch where once Jack Clark came back, Clemson either won or lost by 1 point.
Yeah, no, it's interesting if that's what the matchup is. There's a lot on Clemson's plate for that one. Yeah, it's going to be a good tournament, honestly. Like a few teams can win this, honestly. That's how I see it.
All right, well, this should be a lot of fun. Drop in the comments your sleeper bus championship pick. Get some clout if you're right, and like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next conference.